We took a road trip for furniture. The mattress never made it inside adventure gay romance. Have you ever noticed how the simplest plans can turn into the most memorable adventures? This is exactly what happened to Alex and Jamie, a couple who had been together for just over 2 years when they decided their lumpy old mattress had finally given up the ghost. Now, I should tell you a bit about these two before we dive into their journey. Alex, a graphic designer with a penchant for spontaneity, had always been the dreamer in the relationship, the one who'd suggest midnight picnics or impromptu weekend getaways. Jamie, on the other hand, worked as an accountant and approached life with careful planning and thoughtful consideration. Their differences complemented each other beautifully, creating a balance that made their relationship thrive despite occasional friction when their styles collided. They lived in a charming but undeniably small apartment in the city, one of those pre-war buildings with narrow hallways, tight corners, and a staircase that seemed designed specifically to make moving furniture an Olympic sport. The apartment had character, as real estate agents like to say, which was code for uneven floors and doors that sometimes required a shoulder check to open properly. But it was their home, filled with mismatched furniture they collected over time, each piece telling its own story of flea market finds and hand-me-downs from relatives. Their mattress situation had become particularly dire. What had once been a comfortable haven now resembled a topographical map of a mountain range, with valleys where they slept and peaks that made meeting in the middle nearly impossible. After weeks of waking up with mysterious aches and pains, they finally admitted it was time for a change. But Alex, being Alex, wasn't content with simply ordering something online or visiting the local mattress store. No, this called for an adventure. "I've heard about this amazing mattress shop 3 hours upstate," Alex announced one Saturday morning, as gleaming with excitement as Jamie sipped coffee, still half asleep. "They handcraft everything and have these organic materials that are supposed to change your life. Plus, we could make a whole road trip out of it. Stop at that waterfall I've been wanting to see. Maybe check out that little town with the famous pie shop." Jamie couldn't help but smile at Alex's enthusiasm, and truth be told, the idea of escaping the city for a day held its own appeal. So with a nod and another sip of coffee, their fate was sealed. Little did they know that this simple furniture shopping trip would become a journey that would test their patience, strengthen their bond, and ultimately remind them why they fell in love in the first place. The preparations began almost immediately. Alex, suddenly energized by the prospect of adventure, started pulling snacks from the pantry and tossing them into a tote bag: chips, granola bars, those little chocolate-covered pretzels that Jamie couldn't resist. Meanwhile, Jamie, ever practical, checked the car's oil level and tire pressure, making sure their somewhat temperamental sedan was up for the journey. They bought the car together a year ago, their first major joint purchase, and had named it Bernadette after Jamie's grandmother, who had been equally unpredictable but ultimately reliable. "Do you think we need blankets?" Alex called from the bedroom, already envisioning a romantic picnic by the waterfall. In July, Jamie laughed, but still grabbed a light throw from the couch, knowing Alex's tendency to get cold in air-conditioned spaces. "I'm more concerned about whether we've measured the car to make sure a mattress will actually fit." Alex emerged from the bedroom with a mischievous smile. "Where's your sense of adventure? We'll make it work." This exchange perfectly encapsulated their dynamic, Alex leaping forward with enthusiasm while Jamie considered the practical details. It was a dance they perfected over time, one that occasionally led to minor disagreements but more often resulted in experiences neither would have created alone. The playlist for the trip was another matter entirely. Alex favored upbeat indie bands and nostalgic 90s hits, while Jamie preferred podcasts and classical music for long drives. After some good-natured negotiation, they settled on alternating choices every 30 minutes, democracy in action. As they finally pulled away from their apartment building, the morning sun casting long shadows across the city streets, there was a palpable sense of excitement in the car. Something about leaving their usual surroundings, even for a day, felt liberating. The concrete jungle gradually gave way to suburbs, then to rolling countryside, and with each mile, the weight of daily responsibilities seemed to lift from their shoulders. "Remember that time we got lost trying to find that hot spring last summer?" Alex asked, rolling down the window to let the warm air tousle their hair. Jamie groaned at the memory. "How could I forget? 3 hours of driving in circles because someone, and I won't name names, insisted the GPS was wrong. Hey, we found it eventually." Alex protested, reaching over to squeeze Jamie's knee. "And admit it, that sunset view from the wrong mountain was worth the detour." "It was," Jamie conceded with a smile, remembering how they'd pulled over at a vista point, wrapped in each other's arms as the sky exploded in shades of orange and pink. Though I could have done without the poison ivy incident afterward. They laughed together, and Jamie felt that familiar warmth that always came with these moments, the shared history, the inside jokes, the way Alex could always find the silver lining in any situation. It was one of the countless reasons they had fallen in love. The first planned stop was a roadside attraction Alex had read about online, a peculiarly large statue of a spoon that marked the entrance to a small town known for its homemade jam. The statue, while admittedly impressive in its shiny metallic glory, wasn't quite the cultural landmark the website had promised. Still, they took the obligatory photos, Alex posing as if being scooped up while Jamie pretended to use it as a diving board. We should probably get back on the road if we want to make it to the mattress store before they close, Jamie suggested after they'd exhausted all possible spoon-related photo opportunities. But as they were about to return to the car, Alex noticed a small hand-painted sign pointing down a dirt road. Sunshine Berry Farm. You pick berries 2 miles. Their eyes lit up with that particular gleam that Jamie had learned meant a deviation from the plan was imminent. Jamie, Alex said slowly, how amazing would it be to pick fresh berries for breakfast tomorrow? Imagine waking up on our new mattress and having fresh berries with pancakes. And that's how they found themselves wandering through rows of raspberry bushes, the sun warm on their backs as they filled a small basket with plump, juicy berries, far more than 2 people could reasonably eat before they spoiled. But the joy on Alex's face as they sampled their harvest made the detour worthwhile. Jamie secretly took a photo of Alex with berry-stained fingers and lips, mentally filing it away as one of those perfect moments worth remembering. Back in the car, they realized they'd spent more time at the berry farm than intended. The GPS now indicated they'd arrive at the mattress store with only an hour before closing. Jamie pressed the accelerator a little harder while Alex fed them berries, careful not to stain the car's upholstery. That's when things began to go awry. A road-closed sign appeared seemingly out of nowhere, forcing them to take an alternate route that the GPS struggled to recalculate. Alex, ever the optimist, assured Jamie it was all part of the adventure, while Jamie gripped the steering wheel a little tighter, watching the estimated arrival time tick later and later. Maybe we should call the store and let them know we're running late? Jamie suggested, glancing at the clock. Good idea, Alex agreed, pulling out their phone only to discover they had no service in this particular stretch of countryside. Or maybe not. But hey, look at that sign, Welcome to Millfield, home of the annual sock festival. A sock festival, Jamie. How have we never heard of this? And just like that, their detour became an unexpected adventure. Millfield turned out to be one of those quintessential small towns that seemed to exist in a different time period altogether. The main street was lined with colorful storefronts, American flags hung from lampposts, and locals actually waved as they drove by. Intrigued despite the time pressure, they decided to stop briefly for directions and perhaps a quick coffee to fuel the rest of their journey. The coffee shop, aptly named The Daily Grind, was a cozy establishment with mismatched furniture and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. As they approached the counter, they were greeted by an elderly woman with bright purple hair and a name tag that read Gladys. You two aren't from around here, she stated rather than asked, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. Just passing through, Jamie explained. Actually, we're trying to get to Pinewood Furniture Gallery before they close, but we hit a detour. Gladys's face lit up. Pinewood? My nephew Marcus works there. Best craftsman they've got, if you ask me. But honey, you won't make it before closing. They shut up shop at 4 on Saturdays, and it's nearly 3:30 now. Alex's face fell visibly, and Jamie felt a pang of disappointment too. They'd been looking forward to this trip, and the prospect of returning home without accomplishing their main objective was disheartening. Noticing their expressions, Gladys leaned in conspiratorially. Tell you what, I'll give Marcus a call and see if he can stay late for you. He owes me after I dog-sat his terror of a chihuahua last month. Before they could properly thank her, Gladys was already dialing, speaking rapidly into the phone about 2 nice young men who had traveled all this way. After a brief conversation punctuated with laughter, she turned back to them with a triumphant smile. You're in luck. Marcus says he'll wait till 6 for you. That gives you plenty of time to get there and still look around. Now, can I interest you in some of our famous lavender latte while you're here? They accepted gratefully, touched by this unexpected kindness from a stranger. As they sipped their surprisingly delicious lavender-infused coffees, Jamie, typically a black coffee purist, had to admit it was exceptional. Gladys regaled them with stories about Millfield and its peculiar sock festival. which apparently originated from a historical textile mill that had been the town's economic center for generations. You should come back for it next month, she suggested. People dress up as famous sock puppets. It's quite a sight. By the time they left the daily grind, armed with Gladys's detailed directions and a box of homemade cookies she insisted they take for the road, they felt as though they'd made a friend. It was one of those random encounters that reminded them how connections could be formed in the most unexpected places. Back on the road, with the correct directions this time, they found themselves talking about Gladys and Millfield, imagining what it might be like to live in a place where everyone knew each other's names and celebrated with sock puppet parades. Would you ever want to live somewhere like that? Alex asked, gazing out at the passing landscape. Something quieter than the city? Jamie considered the question seriously. They'd never really discussed long-term living arrangements beyond their current apartment. I don't know. I like the idea of space and quiet, but I'd miss the energy of the city. What about you? I think I could be happy anywhere as long as we're together, Alex replied softly, reaching for Jamie's hand. But maybe someday, a little house with a garden? Room for a dog. The conversation shifted into deeper territory then, as they began sharing dreams they hadn't fully articulated before. Alex's desire to eventually freelance full-time, Jamie's secret wish to perhaps go back to school for environmental law, their shared hope to travel more extensively before settling down completely. The miles passed unnoticed as they opened up about fears and aspirations, the intimacy of the confined car space creating a perfect environment for vulnerability. I've never told anyone this, Jamie admitted at one point, but sometimes I worry that I'm too cautious, that I'm holding you back from the spontaneous life you'd have without me always calculating risks. Alex's response was immediate and heartfelt. Are you kidding? Your steadiness is my anchor. Without you, I'd probably be living in a van somewhere, broke because I impulsively bought a rare collection of vintage typewriters or something. They both laughed, but Alex continued more seriously. We balance each other, Jamie. That's why we work. The conversation might have continued in this vein had they not finally spotted the sign for Pinewood Furniture Gallery, a sprawling wooden building set back from the road, surrounded by towering pine trees that gave the place its name. The parking lot was empty except for a single truck, presumably belonging to Marcus, who was waiting by the entrance as they pulled in. Marcus turned out to be a burly man with an impressive beard and the gentlest handshake imaginable. He welcomed them warmly, explaining that his aunt had made him sound like he was doing them a huge favor, but truthfully, you've been planning to stay late to finish a custom order anyway. So, Aunt Gladys tells me you're in the market for a mattress, he asked, leading them into the showroom, which smelled pleasantly of wood polish and fresh pine. Yes, our current one is basically a medieval torture device at this point, Alex explained, immediately drawn to a particularly plush-looking king-size display. Well, you've come to the right place. All our mattresses are handcrafted using organic materials, no chemicals, no synthetics, just pure comfort. What followed was a surprisingly educational experience as Marcus walked them through the different options, explaining the benefits of natural latex versus traditional springs, the importance of proper support for spinal alignment, and how the materials they used were sustainably sourced from local suppliers whenever possible. Jamie, who had initially been skeptical about driving 3 hours for a mattress when perfectly good options existed in the city, found themselves genuinely impressed by the craftsmanship and attention to detail evident in every piece. Alex, meanwhile, was having the time of their life testing different mattresses, flopping dramatically onto each one and declaring ratings based on bounciness, cloud-like qualities, and nap induction speed. This is the one, Alex announced after testing a particularly luxurious queen-size model with a pillow top that seemed to embrace you like a gentle hug. Jamie, you have to try this. It's like floating on a marshmallow, but with support. Jamie lay down beside Alex and had to admit it was indeed exceptional, firm enough to provide proper support, but with a softness that cradled rather than swallowed you. As they lay there side by side, staring up at the wooden beams of the ceiling, their hands found each other instinctively. I can see us in this bed, Alex whispered, turning to face Jamie. Sunday mornings with coffee and those raspberry pancakes we talked about. Movie nights where we actually stay awake through the whole film because we're so comfortable. Lazy winter afternoons when it's snowing outside and we don't have anywhere to be. The moment was unexpectedly intimate. They're in a furniture showroom with Marcus tactfully busying himself on the other side of the store. Jamie felt a surge of emotion, love, certainly, but also a profound gratitude for this person who could find romance in a mattress shopping expedition, who could turn a mundane errand into an adventure worth remembering. Then this is our mattress, Jamie said simply, and sealed the decision with a quick kiss that made Alex's eyes crinkle with happiness. The transaction was quickly finalized, with Marcus offering them a discount that he insisted was his Aunt Gladys special. The mattress would be ready for delivery in 2 weeks, but when Alex explained they had driven 3 hours specifically to pick it up today, Marcus chuckled and said he happened to have that exact model in stock in the warehouse. "Let me help you load it up," he offered, leading them to the back where the mattresses were stored. It wasn't until they were standing in the warehouse, looking at the actual size of the queen mattress, that reality began to set in. Their sedan, while reliable, wasn't exactly spacious. Marcus, sensing their concern, suggested they try securing it to the roof with proper ties, which he happened to have on hand. What ensued was a comedy of errors as the three of them attempted to maneuver the unwieldy mattress onto the roof of Bernadette. Alex, the shortest of the trio, was practically lifted off the ground while trying to push from below. Jamie, typically coordinated, nearly fell off the stepladder twice. Marcus, despite his professional experience, seemed equally challenged by the logistics of the situation. After 30 minutes of struggling, punctuated by bursts of laughter and increasingly creative problem-solving suggestions, they finally managed to secure the mattress to the roof. The car now resembled a peculiar moving vehicle with a giant marshmallow balanced precariously on top. "Are we sure this is safe?" Jamie asked, eyeing the straps dubiously. "As long as you drive slowly and avoid any major highways with high speeds, you should be fine," Marcus assured them, though his expression didn't inspire complete confidence. "Maybe stick to the scenic route back." They thanked Marcus profusely for his help and patience, promising to leave a glowing review and to say hello to Gladys the next time they were in Millfield. As they carefully pulled out of the parking lot, mattress wobbling slightly with each turn, Alex couldn't contain their excitement. "We did it. Operation New Mattress is a success." Jamie, focusing intently on driving at a snail's pace to prevent their precious cargo from flying off into the sunset, managed a smile. "Let's save the celebration until we actually get it home in one piece." The return journey took significantly longer than the drive up, partly due to their reduced speed and partly because they were indeed taking the scenic route as Marcus had suggested. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the countryside and illuminating their mattress-topped car in a way that made it look almost majestic, or at least, that's how Alex described it when insisting on taking a photo at a particularly picturesque overlook. They were about an hour into the return journey, making good progress despite the constraints, when a concerning sound emerged from beneath the hood of the car. It started as a faint clicking that gradually increased in volume and insistence until it was impossible to ignore. "That doesn't sound good," Alex said, stating the obvious as Jamie carefully pulled over to the side of the road. Sure enough, when Jamie popped the hood, a plume of steam greeted them, suggesting the car had overheated. Whether it was the extra strain of the mattress on the roof or simply bad timing was unclear, but the result was the same. They were stranded on a country road as darkness began to fall. "Okay, don't panic," Jamie said, more to themselves than to Alex. "We just need to let the engine cool down, add some water if we have any, and then we can continue." Alex rummaged through their supplies and triumphantly produced a half-full bottle of water. "See? Always prepared." They waited by the roadside, sitting on a fallen log and sharing the last of Gladys's cookies as the car's engine ticked and cooled. Despite the setback, there was something oddly peaceful about the moment, the chirping of crickets beginning their evening chorus, the distant lowing of cattle in a nearby field, the way the fading light painted the clouds in shades of pink and purple. "You know," Alex said thoughtfully, leaning against Jamie's shoulder, "this whole day has been kind of perfect, car trouble and all." Jamie raised an eyebrow. "Perfect? We got lost, we're stranded, and there's a mattress strapped to our car that looks like it could take flight at any moment." "Exactly." Alex laughed. "It's an adventure, and we're having it together. That's what matters." And in that moment, with Alex's warm weight against their side and the absurdity of their situation fully apparent, Jamie had to agree. This was indeed what mattered, not the perfectly executed plans or the smooth journeys, but the shared experiences, the challenges overcome together, the memories created along the way. Once the engine had cooled sufficiently, they carefully added the water and said a silent prayer as Jamie turned the key. To their immense relief, Bernadette rumbled back to life, seemingly ready to continue the journey home. The rest of the drive was mercifully uneventful, though they maintained their cautious pace, unwilling to risk another breakdown or, worse, losing their precious mattress to the whims of physics and poorly tied knots. They arrived back in the city well after midnight, exhausted but triumphant as they pulled up in front of their apartment building. It wasn't until they had untied the mattress and were preparing to carry it inside that the true challenge of their adventure revealed itself. Their apartment building, with its narrow hallways and tight corners, suddenly seemed like an impossible obstacle course for a queen-size mattress. "We can do this," Alex said confidently as they maneuvered the mattress through the building's front door, a feat that required precise coordination and some creative angling. The real trouble began at the staircase. Their apartment was on the third floor, and the building's ancient elevator had been out of order for months, a fact they had grumbled about when carrying groceries but had never truly appreciated until this moment. "If we bend it a little in the middle, it might fit around that corner," Alex suggested as they reached the first landing and encountered their first major hurdle. "It's a mattress, Alex, not a piece of paper," Jamie replied, already feeling the strain in their arms. "We can't just fold it in half." But they tried anyway, pushing and pulling, rotating and angling, each attempt more desperate than the last. Fellow residents passing by offered sympathy and occasionally unhelpful advice, but no practical assistance. After nearly an hour of struggling, they had managed to get the mattress only to the second-floor landing, where it was now wedged at an awkward angle, blocking half the staircase. Sweaty, frustrated, and increasingly aware of the absurdity of their situation, they sat down on the steps, the mattress looming over them like a monument to their miscalculation. "I don't think it's going to fit," Jamie finally admitted, stating what had become painfully obvious. Alex, usually the eternal optimist, was uncharacteristically quiet for a moment before nodding slowly. "I think you're right." The admission hung between them, heavy with implications. They had driven for hours, navigated detours, made friends in a strange town, carefully transported their purchase across miles of countryside, all for a mattress that would never make it into their bedroom. And then, unexpectedly, Alex began to laugh. It started as a small chuckle but quickly grew into full-bodied laughter that echoed in the stairwell. Jamie, caught off guard, stared in confusion before the contagious nature of Alex's mirth infected them too, and soon they were both laughing uncontrollably, tears streaming down their faces as the absurdity of their entire day crashed over them. "We drove," Alex gasped between fits of laughter, 6 hours round trip for a mattress that doesn't fit in our apartment. And Jamie could barely get the words out, still blocking the stairs. Their laughter must have been loud enough to attract attention because suddenly Mrs. Patel from apartment 2B was peering down at them with concern. "Are you boys all right? Do you need help with that thing?" Wiping tears from their eyes, they explained their predicament. Mrs. Patel, a practical woman in her 60s, assessed the situation with hands on her hips. "Well, it's clearly not going up those stairs," she declared. "But you know, my nephew works for a charity that provides furniture to families in need. I could call him in the morning if you'd like to donate it." And just like that, a solution presented itself. They would donate the mattress, which they had fallen in love with but could not physically accommodate, to someone who needed it. The realization brought a bittersweet feeling, but also a sense of rightness that they both recognized immediately. With Mrs. Patel's help, they managed to maneuver the mattress into her apartment for safekeeping until her nephew could collect it the next day. Exhausted but somehow lighter, they finally made it up to their own apartment, collapsing onto their old, lumpy mattress with a newfound appreciation for its ability to fit through their doorway. "So," Jamie said after they had showered and changed, lying side by side in the darkness, "that didn't exactly go as planned." Alex rolled over to face them, features barely visible in the dim light filtering through the curtains. "No, it didn't. But you know what? I wouldn't change a thing about today." "Really? Not even the part where we spent our savings on a mattress we don't get to keep?" "Not even that," Alex confirmed. "Because today reminded me of something important. It's not about the stuff we buy or even the place we live. It's about who we're with through all of it. The wrong turns, the breakdowns, the moments when things don't fit the way we thought they would." Jamie felt a warmth spread through their chest that had nothing to do with the summer heat. "When did you get so wise?" "Must be all those podcasts you make me listen to on long drives," Alex teased, snuggling closer. "But seriously, tomorrow we'll go to a store in the city, measure everything twice, and find a mattress that fits our quirky little apartment. And it'll be great because we'll pick it together. But it won't be the same as today." "No," Jamie agreed, wrapping an arm around Alex. "Today was one for the books." They lay in comfortable silence for a while, the events of the day replaying in their minds: the giant spoon, the raspberry farm, Gladys with her purple hair and kind heart, Marcus and his patience, the sunset by the broken-down car. The absurdity of the stairwell defeat. Hey, Jamie. Alex's voice was soft, already tinged with the heaviness of approaching sleep. Next weekend. Want to go look for a new coffee table? I heard there's this amazing place about 4 hours away. Jamie laughed, pressing a kiss to Alex's forehead. As long as we measure the doorway first. Deal? Alex murmured, already drifting off. As Jamie followed them into sleep, one final thought surfaced. Perhaps the mattress had served its purpose after all. Not as a piece of furniture for their apartment, but as the catalyst for a day that had somehow strengthened their bond, created memories they would laugh about for years to come, and reminded them of what truly mattered in their relationship. The mattress never made it inside, but what they gained from the journey was far more valuable than any piece of furniture could ever be. And as they planned their next adventure, hopefully one with more accurate measurements, they knew that whatever challenges came their way, they would face them together, with laughter, patience, and the knowledge that sometimes the best stories come from the plans that go wonderfully, perfectly wrong. Total_char_count, 18,853.